people of the world, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Missam and I'm a writer, I'm a reader, I'm a science fiction and fantasy junkie, so if you're into that kind of stuff, go ahead and hit subscribe. Today I'm going to be talking about the new show on Netflix, Curse, starring Catherine Langford, and I was not going to be filming a review on that. Actually, I was pretty confused whether I should or should not, but I thought, you know what, go ahead. Let's do this. I anyway haven't read anything in like 1 week, so I thought since I watched something, let's talk about that. This is gonna be a spoiler-free review, so if you haven't watched it, you can still watch this review and then go ahead and watch the show. I actually have pretty mixed feelings about this show because on one hand, there were things that I really liked, and on the other hand, there were just some things that it's not like I did not like them, it's just that, are they doing this again? Yeah, I guess they're doing it again. That's how I felt like while watching a lot of things that went down in this show. Now, this is basically a retelling of the whole King Arthur story, which goes like, apparently before the Sword of Destiny, Excalibur chose, I had a sword somewhere over here. I had a handmade sword over here. Before it chose Arthur, it actually chose a woman, Nimue, and the story basically follows Nimue, played by Catherine Langford, and her journey as a fae girl. The premise sounded okay. The trailer was actually pretty awesome. The trailer was the reason why I watched the show. This one shot in the trailer where the weeping monk shoots an arrow and like you follow the arrow, so that shot had me sold, and I wanted to watch the entire series just because of that one shot. Let's talk about the basic premise. The basic premise was fine. It was nothing too out of the world. It's nothing that hasn't been done before, and that is pretty much what I gleaned from the entire show. It is basically something that has been done before. When it started off, it actually felt a lot like literally any young adult story that has ever existed. You know, we followed this one girl, this fae girl, and there were fairies, there was magic. Mankind is waging a war against the faes, and the faes are discriminated against. The Red Paladins, who are members of the church, which is actually in the story which has become very corrupt, and they are hunting the faes, killing them indiscriminately. Nimue's entire village was burnt down, and then she goes on a hero's journey. She has to return the Sword of Destiny, the Sword of Power. I've forgotten what it's called. It's called a lot of things. She needs to return it to Merlin the magician. It's an interesting premise, okay? It's not bad. It's not something very original either. It's fine. You'd want to watch it. Talking about the characters, Nimue was just like any other YA protagonist. Nothing too unique there. Nothing that made me go like, okay, wow, that's new, that's interesting. No, nothing of that sort. This is not to discredit the fact that she was still a pretty good hero, and you know, this is still a hero's journey, and any hero's journey led by a woman is pretty great. So I don't want to discredit that. That was fine. I'm just saying that I was hoping that it would be like a bit unique with like a little bit of an interesting spin. There wasn't. It's okay. It's fine. The first few episodes feel a lot more young adult. Then towards the end, we get into many darker stuff and like a lot of darker themes, and there's a lot of gore and violence. So I was like, so initially when I was watching this show, I looked at my sister, I was like, you know what, I think this is a pretty good show, you should watch it with me. And then when I went on, I was like, no. That was a bit weird because like it was tonally inconsistent. I did find myself enjoying the more adult parts of it a lot more, not just because of the gore, but because that part got a lot more nuance, and like the threads started finally coming together, so that was pretty great. King Arthur, in this show, he is only Arthur, was a bit underwhelming. I was actually so glad that his character was not just limited to being a very, you know, noble person. He did get some level of depth, but he was underwhelming in the fact that he felt like a version of Jon Snow, you know, the McQueen kind of Jon Snow, but he was obviously done a lot better because McQueen kind of Jon Snow just sucked. Like the last 2 seasons of Game of Thrones, we don't talk about them here on this channel. They did not exist. Arthur had the similar kind of vibe. Like he himself did not do much. He kind of just looked to Nimue for anything and everything. which is great. She was the protagonist, and it was great that, for a change, the male character was looking up to the female character, which is fine. But here's the thing, I like all my characters to have some kind of agency of their own. He felt like, he did do certain things which showed that he had agency, but I would have liked to see a bit more of that. He did feel a little bland from time to time. The character of Merlin was interesting. I started off feeling that I might really like his character. He was more like Jack Sparrow meets Tyrion Lannister meets like a lot of magic. Interesting character setup. I did like where his character went, but it also felt like, again, there was a lot that they could have done with his character, and it's not necessarily in the terms of him not having magic. I actually found that pretty cool that he did not have his magic. He had only his wits throughout the season. There was this widow who he was friends with, although we don't know why they were friends, but that was still pretty interesting. And I would like to see how they became friends. That would be quite well done. Next comes Morgana. Again, another character who I absolutely loved when she was introduced. I thought that she would be one of my favorite characters, but then she was given an arc which is actually pretty interesting, but it was done very abruptly. Like, one moment she was a completely different person, and the other moment she was a completely different person. I get it, there was magic involved, but they completely ruined her first character and gave her a very zombie-like second character, and most of her character development into what she finally becomes happens off screen. So I was like, that you could have just given it another minute of screen time. That wouldn't have ruined you. The other characters include Father Cardin. There is Iris, who I thought was probably one of the most intriguing characters. I really wish she had more of a backstory given to her and she had more screen time, because I really thought that was a very interesting plot thread. And what eventually happened, getting to know Iris in terms of her backstory would probably solidify her as a character a lot more, because every time she was on screen and the stuff that she did, I felt like, you little piece of shit. So if I felt so strongly for a character, it means that something was done right. So I really hope that we get more of her backstory, like, why is she the way she is? Why is she like this? I did not see that. I just saw that she is like this. She was pretty interesting. I would have liked a backstory as well. My favorite characters, of course, include the Weeping Monk. I did not think that I would like his character at all, but he gets a brilliant character arc. I cannot wish to see more of his character. I loved Squirrel. If anything happens to Squirrel, I will revolt. And I absolutely love Pym, who gave me some of the biggest heart attacks, because I really liked her a lot. I thought that she was just like that one shallow friend that the main character always has, but she was kind of like that, like, that one comic relief, but she was just so lovable, and if anything happens to her, I will revolt. Overall, this was an okay show. It was definitely a lot of fun at times. Like, there were a couple of scenes and a couple of plot threads that made me go like, oh my god, this is amazing. But it wasn't consistently so. It's definitely a very pretty show. The visuals are absolutely stunning. The cinematography is beautiful. The colors are... everything looks pretty good, okay? And then there are these beautiful transitions. The artist behind the show, behind the transitions and behind the opening credit, deserves a huge shout out. They've done a brilliant freaking job on the artwork for this show. It looks amazing. Action was fine. It wasn't that good. Action was okay. I wasn't very hooked by the action. Also, there's this one scene, so the entire show is like very medieval, very... conventional, and then there's this one scene where they play a pop song in the background, and I'm like, what are you doing? I don't have anything against pop songs, but the fact that it completely broke the experience, and it took me out of the show, because this wasn't that kind of show before this. Why are you putting a pop song into this? Especially, this is the part where the show started feeling a lot more adult than it did initially. So I guess my biggest issue with the show is that it doesn't offer anything new or unique. It's pretty much something that we've seen before. In terms of the main character Nimue, I did not hate her. I certainly did not love her. She was okay. She had an okay hero's journey, and it was fine. Was this show bad? I don't think so. It's just not unique. Also, this story has a very "this is the story of how I died" kind of vibe to it. As I said, this story is about as original and unique as the title. Does that mean that we should not have stories like this, where it is basically a power fantasy about a woman doing awesome shit? No, we need stories like that, but the critique of it being unoriginal still holds. So Cursed, in short, is a show which exists. It definitely has its moments. Like, there were parts where I went like, oh shit. Like, there were scenes like that. Watch it. These were my thoughts on it, and let me know in the comments below what you thought about that show. Are you gonna watch it? Are you not gonna watch it? What are your thoughts? If you like this video, go ahead, give it a thumbs up, and if you like my content, go ahead and subscribe. You can also follow me on Twitter, on Instagram, on my blog. I usually talk about bookish stuff, but I actually talk about anything and everything, mostly to do with fantasy and sometimes to do with sci-fi and superheroes and all that jazz. So yeah, see you in my next upload. Bye!